Very cool thing. The annual Kyle Petty charity ride across America, now in its 23rd consecutive year, and it continues to grow by leaps and bounds. In fact, nearly 8,000 riders have logged almost or collected almost $18 million over the 23 years. And the ride raises funds and awareness for Victory Junction, which is a camp dedicated to providing life-changing experiences for children with chronic or life-threatening diseases. Very cool stuff. And here to talk about it is former NASCAR driver, and NBC Sports racing analyst, and the co-star of Stroker Ace. Yeah, you remember that movie back in the 80s. Kyle Petty is joining us here on the Sports News. And Kyle, welcome on in. And if you could, talk a little bit about this charity ride and what makes it so successful year after year.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know what makes it successful. We started this thing, there was 25, 35 of us that really wanted to ride motorcycles from California to North Carolina. That first year, we raised a little money for charity and gave it away, and we thought it'll never get any better than this. And the next year, some of those guys came back and said, let's try it again. So we did it again, and it's just evolved into what it is. 23 years later, we've raised $17.5 million, sent 7,500, 8,000 kids to Victory Junction, visited, 23 different children's hospitals in the early years coming across the country. So it's grown into something that is pretty phenomenal, but I don't know why it grew, and I don't know why it's still here, but it's a lot of fun to do.
Well, hopefully you had something to do with it, and it's great when you see something like that take on a life of its own. So when we're talking about the ride itself this year, what's the route that you're taking? What are some of the highlights of that route?
Well, you know, this year's route, my wife Morgan and I, we went out and rode the thing, and came up through, I guess we left Portland and went to Walla Walla, Washington, and over to Missoula, down through Yellowstone and into Cody, Wyoming. Then we leave Cody and we go to Deadwood, leave there and go through Mount Rushmore and the Badlands, and then we go over to Mitchell, South Dakota, up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and into Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And excited about that, excited to be at the Harley-Davidson Museum and the birthplace of Harley-Davidson, excited about that. But you know, I guess we're going to see, obviously, Yellowstone, you're going to see Mount Rushmore, you're going to see the Badlands. I'm looking forward to the Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota, and looking forward to the world's largest ball of twine assembled by one man in Darwin, Minnesota. Those are going to be the two highlights for two of the highlights of my trip this time.
It's funny because about 20 years ago, I took that exact route, kind of in reverse, Wisconsin, out to Montana, through Cody, saw a rodeo, everything, all that stuff you're talking about, including the Corn Palace. It's a great ride, and the ride's beneficiary, the major beneficiary, can you talk more about them?
Yes, the beneficiary is a camp that my family built here in North Carolina. My oldest son, Adam, was killed in a racing accident in 2000. I had been very blessed and very fortunate to go to Boggy Creek, which is a sister camp to this, and had driven a sports car with Paul Newman in a couple of races. And that's part of his group of camps, the Serious Fun group of camps. His original camp is Hole in the Wall in Connecticut. And obviously Newman's own products go to support so many different camps. But we built a camp here in North Carolina. We've seen about 27,000 kids in the 13 or 14 years that we've been open. The Kyle Petty Charity Ride is responsible for about a quarter of those kids that have gone to camp. It's totally free of charge. We see children with chronic and life-threatening illnesses. They don't pay a dime. We pay to bring them here, pay for them to go to camp and to have that camp experience. So it's an incredibly special place, and the ride is an incredibly group of people that care about those kids and want to give back.
Yeah, what a great legacy to your son as well. How many riders are on this? And we talked about all time, you know, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000. How many join the ride on a yearly basis?
On a yearly basis, we have probably 115, 125 bikes. That's probably 150 to 175 different riders. And then you throw in the support vehicles with our medical team, with our luggage team, our PR people, everybody that goes along with us. There's 220, 230 of us that travel across. So it's a traveling band of gypsies, it looks like, when you roll into town with that many motorcycles and that many different support vehicles with you. So it's a huge undertaking.
Wow. And when does that traveling band of gypsies pass through Wisconsin?
We're in Wisconsin on the very last day, which will be the 19th. We leave Minneapolis, Minnesota. on that Friday morning. We're coming down through Winona, Minnesota, going to a place there, Windcraft, that does a lot of stuff in the racing industry, a lot of, I guess, banners and pins and things like that. We're going to stop there, and then we should be coming into Milwaukee, Wisconsin later that afternoon. We hope to get in about 3:30, 4 o'clock that afternoon, just in time to take a shower and head to the museum, because the Harley Museum is going to be one of the highlights of the trips, and having dinner there is going to be special for all of us.
Beautiful. You're going to love that trip through Winona, Minnesota, and through God's country, through La Crosse and Wisconsin. It's absolutely beautiful, and I know a lot of our viewers are going to be looking forward to it, and hopefully going to be able to see you and contribute as well. Kyle, good luck on this ride. Love to see it grow every year, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.